Hi there, welcome to the Knit Shift. My name is Laura and today is Sunday, October 23rd, 2016. Thank you so much for stopping by today, whether you have visited before or if this is your first time checking out the Knit Shift. I really appreciate you spending a little bit of your time with me. Show notes can be found at theknitshift.com and this episode is available on iTunes and YouTube. I'm on Ravelry as Yarnstormer and I'm on Instagram as Laura Mahalski, so please do friend me, follow me on those social medias. I would love it. I will say there probably won't be any show notes this week. I am flying by the seat of my pants a little bit today. I'll explain more about that later on. I've had to pause and restart several times, you guys. I take 1 week off of podcasting and it's like I don't know how to talk again. We do have a knit along going on in our Ravelry group for the podcast, but it does wrap up in 8 days, so if you're a really fast knitter, now is the time to cast on a shawl for it. This is the Fall Shawl Knit Along, and the details are over on Ravelry in the Knit Shift group. But basically, the goal was to knit a shawl through the end of October. October 31st is the final day. And minimum 400 yards. Any weight, you can enter multiple shawls that you've knit since the beginning of the knit along. Yeah, and I'll draw prizes pretty soon. Oh, Gracie's stopping by. I feel like she hasn't visited the podcast lately. You gonna say hi? No, this isn't awkward at all, Gracie. That's fine. Gracie is my Cocker Spaniel. She's 11 if you are new here. She's pretty tired because last night my boyfriend brought me dinner to work and she came with him in the car. So she got out of the car in the parking lot at my office and ran around, and you know, it's just magic to just show up somewhere and there I am. Then she had to get back in the car and go home without me, which she was pretty sad about, and Josh said they got home and she stared at the front door for about an hour. He took her for a nice long WALK last night, and then this morning he and I took her for a nice long WALK once more. So she's pretty tuckered out right now. I've been busy cleaning and puttering around, and she's been ready for me to just sit down. So I am currently petting her while she sits on my lap. Anyway, the knit along is continuing for 8 more days. Let's start things off with a finished object. Last episode, which I filmed 2 weeks ago, I had just cast on a cardigan for a friend's little girl. She will be 2 on November 10th. And I have since finished that cardigan. In fact, had I filmed a week ago, this would have been finished. This is the In Threes cardigan by Kelly Herditch, I believe is the name. Last week I was right where that stitch marker is. I had just separated for the sleeves. So I knit the rest of the body and the bottom since the last episode. This pattern is a paid-for pattern. It calls for worsted weight yarn, and it has instructions for 4 or 5 sizes, basically newborn up to 5T. I knit a 3T. This little girl is tall, and it's one of those sweaters where you only have buttons like right here, and then it's open, and I'm hoping she can get a couple years out of it. So I really love this. This yarn is Miss Babs Yowza worsted weight in the colorway Oyster. So you can see it's a lovely, semi-solid, pretty straight up gray, but it's just got these little flecks to it that really make it quite lovely. As you can see, I have not attached the buttons yet. I bought buttons at my local yarn store this week, but I'm not going to use them. I'm really disappointed about this. I went to my store and the owner helped me. You know, we looked for buttons together and I ended up finding these buttons on clearance. I should have looked more closely at them in the store, but I think they were on 2 cards taped together and I couldn't see the back of the buttons, so I couldn't have probably seen this had I even known. So they're these pretty vintage blue buttons, kind of like almost like a moonstone. There's 3 of them, and of the 3, only one of them has a hole that you can, there, holding it against my forehead, you can kind of see. It's a really tiny hole, which means I don't know how I would have attached this anyway, but the other 2 have some kind of schmutz in the hole. It's like that adhesive that's left over on packages that you open. I don't know how else to describe it, but both of them have it, and I tried to poke through the the hole of the buttonhole, I tried to poke through it with a Knit Picks, one of those needle tighteners with the really skinny metal point, and it fits, but the gooey stuff wasn't coming off. And I tried rubbing alcohol, and that didn't do it. So basically, this is a wash. I don't think I can return them, but I'm really disappointed because I mean it was like $10 for these 3 buttons. That was the sale price, but still, I just think that would have been really pretty, but no such luck. So I'm hoping I can buy some buttons this week at SAFF, which I'll talk more about later. So that sweater is washed and blocked. I have the leftover yarn here. I knitted on size 8 needles. Oh, Gracie's sitting on the leftover cake. This Miss Babs Yowza is a 560 yard skein of worsted weight. It's not cheap, but it's really beautiful yarn. It's really soft. It's 100% superwash merino, and the colorways are to die for. I am going to be seeing Miss Babs in person at SAFF, and I definitely think another skein of the Yowza will be coming home with me. Not in this color, but another one. So that's my only finished object, and I actually kind of don't really have any works in progress to share with you. It's been a really busy week, which again I'll talk about in a little bit. I do have a little bit of progress on my baby blanket that I'm knitting for my brother and sister-in-law. They're expecting a baby next year. Don't know yet if it's a boy or a girl, but I will find out. They will find out in a couple weeks. So I'm very excited to learn if it's a boy or a girl. So I'm really trying to get this blanket done. I'm going to Ohio for the baby shower in mid-January. So I want to have this done by then. So I have about 2.5 months to finish this. And I need to knit, by my estimation, at least 30 more squares or diamonds to get there. It's about not quite 3 feet wide, but it's kind of hard to see, but I've knit more than 100 squares now. In fact, let me do the math and I can tell you exactly how many. So I've knit almost 160 squares on this, so I have to get to at least almost 200 or so till I feel like it'll be a good size for a little throw to tuck over the baby in the car seat, that kind of thing. I've repeated a color once, just for the record. It was an accident, but thankfully it was one of those kind of an ombre gradient shift yarns that you can't really tell the difference. So I won't point it out and tell you which 2 they are. Maybe eventually I will when I'm all done, but I really love this. I've been working on this for over 3 years, and I have a blanket I have a square on the needles right now. I just started one. I've been working on it over 3 years. This blanket has been to Canada. It's gone to Vermont, I think 3 times. It's gone all over, basically. I take this on all my road trips. So this is the project I plan on focusing on the most at SAFF next week. I'm really hoping I could knit 15 or so squares over the weekend. That might be a little bit lofty, but I'm going to try and get it done. So I can tell you some of the more recent squares I knit. I've done some swaps recently, so I've had a lot of minis come into my stash. This pastel is and I'm behind on weaving in ends as well. So this pastel is a sock blank from Black Market Wool. This was my curse word unicorn sock blank. I knit socks from it and I had some yarn left over. This is some Opal Flower Power. It's a discontinued Opal line. I knit socks for my grandma out of it. This is Hazel Knits in the Nymph colorway. I knit a shawl for my sister-in-law for Christmas out of this. It's kind of a lovely purple gray. I don't remember what this is, but I love it because it's sparkly and rainbowy. Periwinkle Sheep. I just knit a baby sweater for my niece or nephew out of this yarn. This is Socks That Rock Lightweight in the Jengu colorway. This was the yarn I used to knit the first sweater when my brother and sister-in-law told me they were expecting. This is a self-patterning something or other. I think my friend Casey gave me this. This is from a mini I picked up at SAFF last year. This is Lammy Toes Moon Pie Merino. in the Bad Egg colorway. This is one of my favorites. This is a yarn dyed by my friend Hazel, and she dyed it specifically thinking of my brother who's in the military. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on here, but yeah, my brother's in the military, and she dyed this, and I knit a pair of socks for him. And when my brother was deployed to Afghanistan, I knit him several pairs of socks, and this was among them. So I feel like it's extra special that this yarn is in a blanket for his little boy or little girl. So yeah, I love this so much, but I am really excited to be done with it. And I do have a plan in mind to have a new project with minis that I'll talk about later. I did some reorganizing of my yarn chair, which is across the room from where I'm sitting to podcast. I had just kind of let my knitting stuff go to pot. It was just a huge mess. I had minis everywhere. I had received several packages of minis, and so I had like I had a box that was open with minis just piled on it. I had a big white paper envelope from a friend, you know, those like kind of heavy duty paper envelopes that the US Postal Service has. It was stuffed with yarn. So what I did was I got out some of my Ziploc bags, basically kind of organized the mini selection that had been taking over that part of the living room. And I organized it into stuff that was already caked up and balled up. And I have 3 of those bags. I have some very, very generous friends who mailed me a lot of their leftover sock yarn. I mean, this project has been... Everyone was so generous when I first started it out 3 years ago. All of my dating friends gave me their leftover sock yarn. I am awash in it. One of these days I'm gonna actually do a little mini video filming, and you can see just how many minis I have, because it's insane. So these 3 are now all tucked up and away, and I'm probably gonna bring 2 of these bags to SAFF with me. And then I have 2 bags for minis that are still in their, the little skein, the little hank forms. So I have, if you've participated in a swap with me, you probably will recognize some of this. Some of these came from Lisa in Australia. Some of these came from Stacy of the Stress Knits podcast. I got my friend Anne sent me one of these little Socks That Rock emergency keychains of sock yarn, which I think is so adorable. I got a Funky Carolina taped to a card. I am awash in sock yarn, you guys, and I am the luckiest girl alive. I also put into this bag, these are the bigger hanks. This blue and this yellow, it's like a buttery yellow. I bought those in Texas at a yarn shop in Fort Worth, and it was from a dyer exclusive to that shop. And I'm blanking on her name, but I met her there, and I feel bad that I forgot. I also got these knitted wit gumballs there at a different yarn shop in Texas. Whoop. So I have these to put in the blanket, and I specifically have some projects in mind that involve solids and semi-solids in terms of mini use. So my motivation is I'm not allowed to start this project that I'm dreaming about until I finish this blanket, because I really need to finish it. So let me set this aside. So now that stuff is put away, I can tell you a little bit about what I've been up to lately. Long story short, I've been doing a lot of work. I picked up some extra shifts to help out the copy desk at the news organization where I work because of short staffing. Last weekend, I had to work on my weekend, so I didn't record. And the weekend before that was the weekend we had the hurricane. And on Wednesday, October 12th, I debated telling you guys this because it's a little personal, but considering I'm writing about it for the news organization, I thought, why the heck not? So some of you know that my dad is a cancer survivor, colon cancer. He just became a survivor earlier this year because he hit the 5-year mark, which is fantastic. And 5 years ago, I had my first colonoscopy when I was 28. And because they found polyps, I had to have a second colonoscopy, which was 10 days ago. So I had to prepare for it. I was on a liquid diet, and then you have to drink a laxative to go to the bathroom. It's pretty awful. And everything came back fine. 5 years ago, I was really anxious, because my dad had just been sick. And this year, it's different. He's a survivor now. He's 5 years out, so that's a big difference. I decided to offer to write about it for the newspaper because young people don't think about colonoscopies a lot. There's actually a lot of studies that show it's actually increasing. Diagnoses are increasing in young people. I volunteered to write about it and kind of document my experience. I did kind of a video diary, and because of this podcast, I have video editing skills. So I haven't been able to do this at work because my job is pretty demanding, and I essentially had to do this in my own free time. Much of the past couple weeks, I've been doing interviews and writing and editing the video because I need to have it done before I go on vacation for SAFF. Between working on my weekends, working 6-day weeks, and working on this project, I've been really burned out, and knitting and the podcast had to be put on the back burner. So that's a huge bummer because I would be sitting there on the other side of the room, typing away, and I'd be looking at the yarn around me and being like, oh, I just really want to knit. I'm so stressed out. So that's where I've been the past couple weeks. In the heat of feeling so burned out and stressed out, I bought myself a Fuji, and this is so silly of me. I don't know if it's Insta-X. I guess it's Insta-X, not Instax. This is how uncool I am. So basically, it's like a Polaroid, but the film is smaller. And it was less than $100 for the camera and film. And I thought it would be a really fun toy to bring along to SAFF. And I'll talk about SAFF in a little bit. So I brought, there's one little photo to share with you guys. I know the camera's reflecting back in the lens, but they are basically just like Polaroids from the 1970s. And this is one where I look a little bit crazy, but I took the good photo. I took the good photo to work and taped it up at my desk, so I don't have the good photo. And there's varying levels of flash, and this photo came out pretty dark of Josh and me. So yeah, I'm really excited to play with this toy at SAFF with my friends, and I'm really glad I bought it. I do have a case coming in the mail. It should be delivered Wednesday. So it's a really cute camera. It was a nice present for myself. I feel like I've been working really hard, and it was just a nice treat to have. So let's talk about SAFF. SAFF is the Southeastern Animal Fiber Fair. It's held in Fletcher, North Carolina. It is the weekend of Halloween, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My friends and I will be there Friday, the 28th. So if you're going to be there, I would love to see you. And I know Saturday and Sunday are the more popular days, so I'm not sure how many people I will actually run into on Friday, but if you're going to be there Friday, please say hi. I would love to say hello and give you a hug. So last year I had my act together, and I had little candy bags with like knit shift swag for people. This year I don't have my act together, but I can offer some knit shift pins. So if you see me, I will have some pins if you would like a knit shift pin. I am very excited to go to SAFF, but I'm mostly excited about spending time with my friends. We will be hanging out at our cabin where we stayed last year and roasting marshmallows and having s'mores and knitting in our pajamas and watching Hallmark movies and boy band videos, and I have a feeling there will be what is probably like the 8th viewing of Magic Mike XXL for us. So that'll be really fun. We're leaving Thursday, we come home Sunday, and I'm just really excited to spend time with my girls and relax and just have a really nice time. So I'm not especially looking for any yarn at SAFF. We are going to check out Black Mountain Yarn Shop as well. And I'm not looking for any specific yarn because I did do some damage in Texas in August, but I would love to find a skein of Miss Babs Yowza to knit something for my niece or nephew, like a nice cozy sweater, cardigan, pullover, whatever. I'm really going to try not to buy single skeins of sock yarn, but I know when push comes to shove, I'm going to buy single skeins of sock yarn. I'm just really happy with the state of my stash right now. I'm not looking for anything in particular. I just want to knit all of the things. I just need to find time to knit all the things. So therein lies the dilemma for so many of us. That's it. So have a fantastic week. Do check out the Fall Shawl Knit Along threads and have a fantastic week full of whatever you love, basically. Bye.